Hey there, and welcome to my channel. If you're drawn to real-life horror, stories that make your heart race and your skin crawl, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm sharing 3 true stories where ordinary moments suddenly turn terrifying. Each story shows just how quickly a seemingly safe situation can spiral into fear and chaos. When I was 16, in my junior year of high school, I had 9 periods a day. 5th period was lunch, and right after that was my astronomy class. My astronomy classroom was one of the 2 located in the basement of the school. The school was large. 3 floors weren't enough to fit all the classes, so the basement had been converted into 2 classrooms. It was a little creepy down there when nobody else was around. The space had once been a janitorial area, but was remodeled to look like a normal hallway. There were no intercoms or loudspeakers, so students in the basement couldn't hear announcements. Because of that, everyone called the area the chamber, and students often requested classes there. It was air-conditioned, the work was usually easier, and there was a private bathroom. That day, we had a quiz in astronomy. I usually finished quickly because I found the subject easy. Once I was done, I texted my friend JJ, who was in the other basement classroom, asking him to meet me in the bathroom because I was bored. He agreed. I walked down the hallway to the bathroom, and a few moments later, JJ arrived. We joked around for a bit, but then he checked his phone. Someone had texted him. The school was on lockdown. We shared a grin. Neither of our teachers had seen us leave, so we had the freedom to move around. We decided to go upstairs and explore the hallways, just for the experience. If we got caught, we could simply explain we hadn't heard the announcements down in the basement. When we opened the basement door to the main floor, we were shocked. The lights were all off, leaving the hallways nearly pitch black except for the lobby doors letting in some light. Usually, the hallways were lit during lockdowns. Clearly, something was wrong. JJ stepped further down the hallway, and I followed. He stopped and whispered, "Who's that?" From the darkness, a man appeared. At first, we weren't sure if he was a teacher, but as he got closer, it became clear he wasn't. He was dressed like a homeless person. "Let's go," I whispered, and we ran back to the basement. Both classrooms had their doors closed and lights off. To avoid being seen, we hid in the bathroom. I turned off the light, and we crouched in a corner stall. The silence was intense. No ventilation, no heaters, just the sound of our breathing and an occasional drip from the sink. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened. Light from the hallway flooded in briefly before the door closed again. We tried to stay calm, but then we heard footsteps approaching. The person stopped outside our stall, breathing heavily. JJ whispered, "We should crawl through the other stalls." Even that whisper seemed loud in the silence. The breathing outside stopped. The person started pressing against the stall door. I whispered, "Go." We crawled under the dividers, stall by stall, until we reached the far side of the bathroom. The man started banging on the door. We jumped up, opened the door, and saw him standing in the corner. Heart racing, we pounded on the door to JJ's classroom. The teacher let us in immediately. JJ explained everything. The teacher locked the door, mentioning a gun in the man's pocket. I hadn't seen it myself, but I nodded. Normally, students would have laughed at the commotion, but everyone in the classroom looked worried. The sudden bang at the door made everyone jump. Some girls screamed. We could see the man outside, trying the doorknob, then angrily walking away toward the stairs. We don't know how long the lockdown lasted after that, but we sat in tense silence for over an hour. The teacher asked occasional questions, shaking his head at what we told him. Eventually, someone upstairs instructed us to walk in a single file line out of the building where police were waiting. We described the man to the officers and the dean as best we could. One of the cops patted me on the back before we were allowed to go home. After this, the school added cameras everywhere and increased security. The incident didn't make the news, so we never found out if the man was caught. I still believe he had only one intention: to kill us in that bathroom stall. I'm a retired police officer from New Jersey. Over my 20 years on the force, the call that shook me the most was a school lockdown at a nearby middle school. I'll leave the school unnamed for legal reasons. It was a stormy, dark day when my radio called me to respond. Reports came in about a suspicious man stepping out of a white van parked behind the school and walking in through the back door near the boys' locker room. When I arrived in the back parking lot, the van was empty and all its doors and trunk were locked. I entered the school through the red back door, which led into the gym hallway next to the locker rooms. The lights were off, making the hallways pitch black. I pulled out my flashlight to navigate the darkness. I made it to the lobby, where a woman from the front office quietly warned me to check the boys' locker room, but cautioned that the man could be armed. I called for backup and was told it was already on the way. I returned to the hallway and reached the boys' locker room, located next to an exit. I pushed the door open slowly. There were no windows, so the only light came from my flashlight. A vent on the ceiling made a constant white noise, but over that, I could hear faint scratching and little thuds against the lockers. I was supposed to announce my presence as a police officer, but the tension in the room was overwhelming. Holding my flashlight in one hand and my gun in the other, I crept across the locker room. No matter where I moved, the sound seemed to come from the opposite side. I stopped near the bathroom door when a sudden slam from a locker made me jump. Following the noise, I discovered it came from the boys' football locker room, which was connected to the main locker room and had much larger lockers. I finally shouted, "Police!" to make my presence known. Almost immediately, a kid started screaming for help from somewhere on the other side of the room. He was pounding on a locker, trapped inside. My stomach sank. I told him I'd be right back, called for backup again, and ran outside to check for the white van, but it was gone. My biggest mistake was not noting the license plate. I instructed dispatch to be on the lookout for a suspicious white van. Back inside, I instructed the staff to end the school day and have someone with a key free the trapped boy. I later learned that the man had been holding a knife against the boy, trying to get him to the van, and the boy had been cut while resisting. A week later, the van was spotted at a 7-Eleven parking lot, and the man was arrested after being properly identified. I was staying at a Hampton Inn in New Jersey while visiting Rowan University, a college I was considering. My family couldn't come, so I was on my own. After a day of campus tours, I grabbed a bite to eat and returned to the hotel around 8 p.m., planning to explore campus again the next day. About an hour after getting to my room, a strange alarm went off, accompanied by a bright white light flashing from a corner of the ceiling. Soon, a looping message played, telling all Hampton Inn guests to stay in their rooms because of a lockdown. I had never heard of a hotel lockdown before and had no idea hotels even had alarms like this. At first, it seemed more curious and exciting than alarming. The alarm eventually stopped, but the light kept flashing, and every 20 seconds or so, the message repeated. Since it was only around 9:30, I turned on the TV for background noise while I changed clothes and brushed my teeth. After shutting off the lights and getting under the covers, I watched TV for about half an hour before turning it off. The flashing light was still going, and it was glaring enough to disrupt my sleep. I started thinking about calling the front desk to ask what was happening when the phone rang. It was someone from the front desk, but instead of explaining the alarm, the person sounded very concerned. She told me to stay calm and leave the room immediately. When I asked what was happening, she revealed that someone was inside my room and I needed to get out. I dropped the phone and instinctively started scanning the room. My curiosity got the better of me at first, and I checked under the bed and in the empty bathroom. Nothing. Then I noticed the closet next to the bathroom. It was a wooden sliding door closet, slightly ajar. Through the small crack, I saw a face. At first, it didn't register, but when the door slid completely shut, I panicked and ran out. The front desk later showed me security footage from an hour earlier. A man had been wandering the hallways, seemingly looking for a specific room. When he reached mine, he opened the door with a key card he somehow obtained. Authorities arrived shortly after and took him away in handcuffs. He was a shorter man, probably in his 40s, and as he passed by me, it felt like he knew exactly who I was. Thinking back, it's terrifying to realize he may have been watching me from that closet for more than an hour. Those were 3 chilling true stories that remind us how fragile our sense of safety can be. If you want to hear more real-life horror and spine-tingling tales, make sure to subscribe. I've got plenty more stories coming your way. Which of these stories unsettled you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one.